Where does a writer get his ideas?
Never ask a writer where he gets his ideas. In truth, we don't know.
This question is an old one, and not easily answered, for each of us find inspiration in different places. To some it lies in the lyrics of a song.
Yeah, well, look, Marvin, you gotta play. See, that's where they kiss for the first time on the dance floor, and if there's no music, they can't dance. If they can't dance, they can't kiss. If they can't kiss, they can't fall in love, and I'm history.
Others discover it during walks in the park, and many a plot was born in the mists of dreams. Or, less poetically, we may find it calling out to us from the cinema screen, or within the august pages of a book. For, as the proverb states, what has been will be again, what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. In today's world, rich with narrative, we stand upon the shoulders of the literary giants of the past, and every new idea, whether intentional or not, is likely to have some sort of precedent.
Fear not till Burnham Wood be come to Dunsinane. And now, a wood comes toward Dunsinane.
But take heart, for it is here that we may take refuge in the time-honored literary idea of homage. Greetings, good storytellers. I am the Artful Narrator, and it is my privilege to welcome you to learning the tropes of writing. In days of old, lords would bow before their king and swear fealty to him. This was known as paying homage. However, the word we are working with today is deceptively spelled exactly the same, but pronounced homage. This is done by putting the emphasis on a different syllable. Nowadays, we make homage to a fellow artist that inspires us. The pronunciation is different, but the meaning, well, you be the judge. Oh, rest assured, we still honor them, but while the lords of old made vows of loyalty and gave gifts to honor their kings, we instead take inspiration and borrow some ideas from our contemporaries to use ourselves, incorporating elements of their style or content in an affectionate tribute. For, after all, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Now granted, if you unceremoniously lift whole sections from another's work, then that is the little thing they call plagiarism. But that is a ham-fisted, copy-paste approach, and a far cry from the tactful elegance of a proper homage.
It, lacked elegance.
As is my wont, we will be focusing on only the sterling examples of homage, and in this category, Remington Steele is certainly noteworthy. For each episode pays tribute to a classic movie, typically from the 1940s or thereabouts, by using elements from that movie's plot. What is genius is that the main character, Remington Steele, being an avid film buff, notices these similar themes and uses his knowledge of the correlating movie's outcome to help solve whatever mystery is currently baffling the Remington Steele Detective Agency.
We can't do that, not until we've made some sense of this.
Oh, found the movie.
What movie?
That's the question, isn't it? Laura, I'm afraid to admit it this far along, but I think we're in the wrong movie.
What movie?
The Oriental angle threw us right off.
What are you talking about?
The Third Man.
Yes.
Orson Welles plays a ruthless dealer in the black market who fakes his own death in order to avoid pursuit by the police. Only his good friend, Joseph Cotton, doesn't believe it was an accident and begins digging to find out why Orson was killed.
And Disney's Hercules purportedly was inspired by elements from Rocky. Furthermore, although I cannot find confirmation, Hercules appears to borrow heavily, and might I add brilliantly, from Superman's tropes and origin, which, given the epic but rather grisly nature of the classic origin for Hercules, was a superb use of homage by Disney to craft a story that was immensely enjoyable while being lighter in tone. And humorously enough, Superman is said to have been inspired by the classic Greek myth of Hercules, so we have some beautifully creative symmetry there. The practice of homage is certainly well known to directors, as attested in many behind-the-scenes featurettes and audio commentaries. A personal favorite of mine is the audio commentary for Disney's Aladdin, where the creators confided that the scene where Aladdin descends into the Cave of Wonders and removes the lamp from its pedestal had a definite Raiders of the Lost Ark element to it. As the story goes, when they later talked to Steven Spielberg and brought this up apologetically, he merely said, "Oh, I stole all that from other movies. That's the way it works." Now it well behooves an author to remember that stories are made up of numerous tropes, which can be disassembled and reconstructed in whatever manner best suits the narrative. For example, say that you have been inspired by the scene in The Hobbit, where Gandalf tricks the trolls into staying up all night arguing. Now, it would be very easy for you to merely replicate the approximate events of that scene in your own story with little variation. However, this would be lacking in elegance, not to mention respect to the original work, and a proper homage is nothing if not respectful. Instead, I would invite you to consider the element you wish to draw inspiration from. What is it about that scene that inspires you? Was it the guile of Gandalf in mimicking the voices of the trolls to spread dissension among them? Or perhaps was it the humor of three malevolent, yet lovably buffoonish monsters arguing amongst themselves? Or the idea of using the power of the sun to vanquish evil creatures?
There's something you forgot about, too. Sunrise. It's in about 9 hours, moron.
Now that you have pinpointed the source, take the encounter and boil it down to the very essence of that inspiration, after which you may prudently take said essence and place it in your story, fleshing it out with the themes of your world such that it takes on new dimension, while still honoring the scene in The Hobbit that originally inspired you. Some of the greatest characters were made by blending together elements homaged from different sources. It is said that throughout the development of the legendary Dark Knight Batman, elements of his character and appearance may have been inspired by such sources as the radio show character The Shadow, Zorro from the 1920 film starring Douglas Fairbanks, and a variety of others, ranging from the eminent sleuth Sherlock Holmes to perhaps, most interestingly, the Ornithopter, a sketch by none other than Leonardo da Vinci. I leave you with this humorous analogy. Consider, if you will, that crafting stories is not unlike making a fine stew. Many vastly different stews still rely on commonly used ingredients, like meat and vegetables, so too do different stories still make use of the same tropes and many of the same inspirations, like heroes, villains.
Fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, miracles.
Then, just as it is the seasoning in the stew that helps to give it its own flavor, thereby making it more than just the sum of its parts, so too do the themes and style of your story lend flavor to the plot and help to bring the tropes together to make it your own narrative. So, although you may start out with a dash of Harry Potter here, and a bit of Lord of the Rings there, and a soupçon of Princess Bride, just for zest, if you blend them well and give your masterpiece time to marinate before cooking it to perfection, with any luck you will either have a worthy story, or a fine dinner, depending on how lost you got in this analogy. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that this video has been informative, or at the very least, a pleasant diversion. Until next time.